Hey everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, greatest screenwriter in the history of the world, recovering homeless guy, and formerly Sean Hannity's biggest fan. I was just listening to Sean Hannity telling a guy how even though his supposed friend, who's a veteran, is losing his job, I say supposed friend because he's actually the guy's tenant, the guy's a landlord, called in a Sean Hannity show and was saying he's worried about these job cuts. And then Hannity was trying to like kind of smooth talk him into saying, well, there's going to be some pain, but it's because of the wokesters. And now with the job cuts that are coming with Doge, we're finally getting this country financially solvent, back on track. And it's just the wokesters, and he used the word for transgender people that's demeaning to them. I'm not going to use it, but he basically called it like an ism, which is how the right wing uses it. I've wanted to make this video for a while. I used to be Sean Hannity's biggest fan. I'm serious. 21 years ago, yeah, I was 18, and not only I listened to him every day, not only I would watch his show. Even before that, I was listening to his radio show coming home from high school, being driven home by my dad. But I got his book, Deliver Us from Evil, and I skipped class in my freshman year in college to go to a bookstore in DC to get his autograph on the book. And I wish I still had the pictures. They were they were on Polaroids of me meeting him. I got someone else in line to take my picture with him, which is surprisingly for me, like thinking now, like wow, I was pretty shy back then. Like, good on me for opening up to people. The people in line were nice. By the way, nobody I met there liked Ann Coulter, and I didn't either. Like, none of us liked her. We were all like, nah, I don't like her. Like, she's too mean. This is 21 years ago. She only got worse since then. But I met him. I asked, hey, when's your next book coming out? A stupid question for an 18-year-old. He's like, it's going to take a while, whatever. We listened to his show, which I remember thinking, that wasn't that exciting. It kind of flew by fast. And he kept calling John Kerry a flip-flopper, which was the standard line. John Kerry, terrible presidential candidate, by the way. I would even think that now. Better than George Bush, I guess, or harmful but less harmful than George Bush. Standard corporate Democrat, warmongering Democrat. Good on him for speaking out against the Vietnam War after he went there. But yeah, Sean Hannity was doing those same tired lines. I read the book. I didn't even think it was good at the time. It was kind of lame. It was just like defending why we got into World War II and saying basically that's why we need to fight in Iraq. And at the time, I was a young conservative slash neoconservative. I was dabbling into libertarianism, learning about that. And since then, I've changed dramatically to where now, I mean, over the years, I became much more progressive and socialist, leftist, and to now where I call myself a communist. I'm like, capitalism itself is the problem. It's fundamentally oligarchical and fascist, or it will always lead to fascism, and it needs to be undone. There was a time when capitalism didn't exist, and capitalism has advantages over the systems that came before it, but something even better should come. That's a society where everyone lives with dignity, where we're free of exploitation and oppression, and where we're all provided for and we can all pursue the things we like to do, and you can work to contribute towards your community as opposed to renting out your labor for a corporate exploiter. Now, why I made this now, Sean Hannity would like eviscerate, for instance, and I hate saying this because it sounds like I'm defending him, but Obama. Obama's better than the alternatives. John Kerry and, John McCain and whoever the hell else ran against him. I don't remember now. But still bad. Like corporatist, warmonger, did all kinds of shady things. Massive war, like expansive wars, lots and lots of problems. The bar is so low for what a good leader is. Like, it's like, yeah, he was good in that he didn't fundamentally try and dismantle the administrative state, which This is from like Sam Cedar was saying this, for every job, federal job they're taking away that actually like does something to protect people, like at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or USAID, which I realize that it can be iffy as far as the USAID can do great things to help people around the world, including people we've helped decimate or we've directly tried to decimate, like in Iraq, but also it acts as a front for the CIA to wield imperial power. So I realize there are strong critiques of USAID, nothing that has to do with what Musk and Trump are doing. But, geez, here's something in the alley. But Hannity, so he would like go so hard on Obama, and you could see him doing this. Like Trump would do the things he accused Obama of, basically, and like he was all for it. Now I was just listening to Sean Hannity telling this guy who called in his show, there are going to be a lot of great things coming as far as more energy production and more energy sector jobs. But we've had too much wokeism and transgender uh, like basically ideology being pushed on people. It's always bogus. It's always like, oh, we don't hate black people. We don't hate this group. We don't hate gay people. We don't hate transgender people. We're just against the extremism of those groups that use it for a political agenda. The political agenda is always fundamentally that they believe they're trying to destroy the white race and white male superiority. It's white supremacy. Um, and I'm so disgusted at Sean Hannity, in part because I was such a fan of his, but I changed. I had a fucking conscience. I was not a well-formed conscience when I was younger, and I'm still trying to form it and reform it and always understand things better, because everything comes at a cost when you choose stuff. I realize there's no perfect choice in anything, but there are some great choices to be made. But Hannity did not grow a conscience. Hannity has leaned harder and harder right, even when he gets upset at Trump and is like, hey, you're not going to try and be a dictator for more than a day, right? Like, okay, you'll be it for a day, but then you'll stop, right? Oh, you're not? Well, I still support you no matter what. Like, how embarrassing, you bootlicking coward. How, like sycophantic, that's almost trivial, that word. Like, you're just doing this to make money. So back to what he was complaining about, wokeism and stuff. I realize that being a former conservative myself, first of all, most conservatives don't know anything about the people they criticize. That's what stopped me from being a conservative. It wasn't some like principled change per se. I did gain principles when I changed, but it was just being around people, listening to other people's stories, being informed by them, people who didn't live lives like me, such sheltered lives, for as many problems as I've had in my life, and realizing, oh, their experiences are valid. And that's believing in the validity of other people's experiences. First of all, that's what history is. It's just people's experiences. But believing in their validity is always what I realized now I had called, oh, liberals are run by their feelings, which I hate liberal. I don't hate anybody, but I hate what liberals stand for. It's basically just conservatism, or it's just fascism with a smile. But that's what Rush Limbaugh would always say. They're run by their feelings, meaning it matters what people happens to people, and we have these acceptable sacrifices that we can make to the rich, to oligarchs. We're talking about oligarchy now, and Democrat again, like Joe Biden's scumbag. Hey, in ICC, absolutely investigate him for war crimes in Palestine. My God, him and Blinken. But what was I saying? So for Hannity, like hating on woke ideas, again, it just fundamentally comes down to trying to destroy whiteness and white male superiority. We're used to being on top, and we're very uncomfortable being challenged about that. But it's been an old thing. Like you look back decades, centuries, it's always like an excuse that conservatives use to hate whole groups of people and to commit oppression, exploitation, and to ignore acts of abuse and atrocities against marginalized people. when they say, "Oh, we're not against women, we're just against this extreme feminism. We're just against this man-hating feminism. We don't hate gay people. We're just against indoctrinating kids into gayness." That's something I was specifically taught when I was young, and I parroted. I'm not proud of it. I parroted lines from Rush Limbaugh complaining about how kids are taught Heather has two mommies. Uh, Sean Hannity is using these same excuses. When you realize they're excuses, they're not arguments, it's so clarifying. Because you can look back at the pattern and it's like, well, why doesn't it matter now when like these atrocities are happening, when these people, when transgender youths are being neglected and abused, when 40% of homeless youths are LGBTQ. And that's so much in part, due to the fact that so many parents are bigoted against them. So many of them abuse those kids. We have so much poverty anyways in this country, but then fewer opportunities for people who don't, appeal to employers as far as cis, heteronormative, white, Anglo-sounding names, male. The workplaces can be such hellish places for so many people, marginalized people, and even non-marginalized people like me. I went through sexual harassment. It was absolute hell on earth. And Hannity's here talking about how there's going to be so many opportunities and jobs. Oh, it's great for abusers and their employers when you have no choice about leaving, because even though you're being abused or underpaid or what have you, because hey, where are you going to go? Housing's expensive. Healthcare is expensive, it's expensive even if you're not getting any. You still have to pay for it. Transportation's expensive. We don't believe in building out our public transit networks here. Trump's trying to gut all that. Musk has been trying to gut that for a long time. We don't have a strong social safety net. We don't have public housing. So where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You don't like it? Oh, you report sexual harassment? A standard tactic of HR is to go get testimony from your coworkers to try and discredit you. And you'll never know exactly what was said. And you'll never quite know how it was used against you. If they find nothing on you, they'll just do what they did to me. They'll say, well, the consensus is you don't like talking to people. Like, you're bothered, Angelo, when people talk to you. And they'll use that as cover to say, we just want you to be comfortable, so we'll offer to tell your coworkers not to talk to you. And in my case, when I declined it, they still told them that. And it still isolated me from my coworkers and fractured the workplace for me. And it was hell that I had to go back to work with my sexual abuser. What do you have to say about that, Sean Hannity? And you can't use the excuse of, oh, that's gayness or what. You want to say all gay people are abusers? Or how about it was actually someone who hated their own sexual identity so much, this abuser, that he tried to master that hatred by taking it out on me and surely others. Because his dad is a deeply homophobic, abusive man, or allegedly abusive, but definitely homophobic from what I've seen. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting? My first landlord was the most homophobic person I've ever met. Told me he put his son in the hospital because his son was gay and he tried to make him straight. And that same landlord asked if he could get in the shower with me. Where was I going to go? I was just sleeping on my friend's parents' couch for a month before that. And I was sleeping there because my brother attacked me. I lived back with my parents for a while. At first I moved back because it didn't work out with the friend I was staying with. But then I was disabled for 9 months. Couldn't drive for 8 of those months. It was deliriously painful. What options, Sean Hannity, should someone like that have? If my parents couldn't support me like that now, what would happen then? Would I go homeless? Well, I can tell you I did go homeless at another point later. 2.5 years I was homeless, and I fell sick, disabled again. There's barely any help for you then. Man, you are screwed big time. I was already well into the progressive camp then, but that was, a formative experience for me. That changed me fundamentally and made me such a better person. You would benefit from that, Sean Hannity. I could show you how I went homeless where I slept. I'll go do it with you. We'll sleep in a car somewhere. I'll do it standing on my head for a month. No problem. Easy. I'll show you how I showered on the street, where I got food at a food bank, how I exercised in the park and occasionally had to run from people who are high or out of their mind in the park. And you want to whine about the woke ideology doesn't want to put criminals away. Interesting how we have free beds guaranteed, but only in dungeons, in jails. And it's extremely profitable for prison corporations to do that. Interesting how there's an emergency number to call if someone steals food, but there's no emergency number for if you're hungry. If you try and get on food stamps, like I did, you don't have enough money for actual food. I was having to go to Jack in the Box and get their like $1.25 tacos or whatever with like this much meat in it, because I didn't have a fridge to put food, so I couldn't actually get decent food that I could refrigerate. Sorry, I'm checking the time real quick. I'm going to get going in a second, but the blaming of supposed extremists is not an argument, Sean Hannity. It's an excuse. It's the excuse conservatives use to justify atrocities, neglect, and abuse of people. And y'all have no use for most white people too, even though you pimp white supremacy, as I heard you discuss with a guy calling into your show, where you're saying like, well, your friend, it's yeah, some people are going to be hurt, but it's part of making this country financially viable again. But there are going to be great job opportunities. Smart people like that are going to find jobs again. Smart people like that go homeless too, you stupid son of a bitch. So when you use these excuses of, oh, this is wokeism and stuff, we don't have to look at you saying that like, oh, this is a novel argument. Wow, interesting. He came up with this. We can go back decades and see segregationists who said, we don't hate black people. For a lot of them would probably just say it, but a lot of them wouldn't say that. They said, no, we want to treat black people well, but we're just against forced integration. Like we're not in favor of racial segregation, but we don't want forced integration. We don't want black people forcing their lives on us somehow just by living near us and being able to share the same public spaces as us. People said similar things about gay people. We don't hate gay people. A lot of them do, but y'all do really. But they said we just don't want them indoctrinating our kids. Wow, like to quote the line from the Gus Van Sant film, Milk, how do you teach being gay? Is that like teaching French? It's utterly barbarous and stupid. And can you teach heterosexuality like that? It's made up. It's bogus to say we're just protecting kids. Same thing for transgender issues, denying transgender rights, this barbarism and brutality against trans people, this wickedness and hatred of them. Why don't you all cover that? If you're against such atrocities against trans people, sexually exploiting them financially, making them homeless, denying them rights, like criticize, say you believe in this gender essential beliefs of there's only men and women, but also speak out against abuses. If you believe that landlords are fundamentally like in a good profession, like a legitimate profession, and they're not just parasites, speak out against all the slumlords out there. Speak out against the ones in LA raising rents 50, 100% after the wildfires displaced thousands of people. Why don't you do that? You all say you're not against black civil rights. You're just against BLM burning down cities and stuff. Just an excuse. Again, an excuse for so much barbarism against black people and neglect, medical abuse, abuse in the workplace, pimping out, again, like constant imagery, white supremacist imagery that paints black people as all the stereotypes that you jackasses portray them as. And you all are so ignorant. Like Hannity was like stumbling over his words trying to justify these job cuts to this guy. You could go over and same thing. We're not against women having equal rights. We're against man-hating feminism. Well, at a certain point, if what you're pimping hurts women and hurts black people and hurts disabled people and LGBTQ people, etc., like pick whoever, Native Americans, Palestinians. At a certain point, it's just an excuse to hate them. And it's so easy to like just intoxicate yourself with this idea that no, I'm not a bad guy. I treat people well. I know this type of person. I have black friends. I have gay friends. Whatever. Yeah, that doesn't make you non-racist. It doesn't make you anti-racist. It certainly doesn't make you pro-black. What it makes you is a coward. Because up close, it's hard to hate someone. But when you don't have to face them, how do you treat them? You would rather have the police and the prisons visit abuse and neglect on them. You would rather disinvest in their communities and fund the police to commit atrocities against them. You would rather paint them all as criminals, as trying to indoctrinate youth, as communists like me, rather than trying to uplift them. Hannity is such a gutless, spineless, conscienceless hack. I can say that because I was right there with him on all that. I know who I used to be, and unlike him, I changed. So one reason you can trust me more than him is I changed just about everything I believed in about the world. By the way, not just about politics. I used to look into converting to the Catholic Church. That seems absolutely alien and unbelievable to me now. Not only I don't believe it, I think it's so corny, the church, and hey, whatever makes you happy if you're not hurting anybody, but the church is fundamentally a rotten, broken, disgusting, ugly institution that covers up a lot of abuse and inspires abuse with its own homophobia. And my God, Hannity, you putting Our Father in deliver us from evil, and pimping out your Catholic faith and saying how you considered being a priest too. I remember you saying that when you were debating somebody about John Kerry, and John Kerry thought about being a priest too. I had thought about that as well, not willingly. I was having like panic attacks about it and stuff. But anyways, I was having a lot of conflicted thoughts about the Catholic Church then. But one reason you can trust me over Hannity, and don't trust me, like look at the stories out there, is I changed. I changed just about everything about myself to try and be a more decent person and understand the impact I have on the world and try and have a more decent impact. Whereas Hannity doubled down on his rottenness. The only two things maybe I didn't change on, although I've gotten a better understanding of them, by no means will I ever have a full understanding, is I was always against the death penalty. And I was always against the use of the atomic bombs in World War II, and generally speaking, just carpet bombing. I remember making my liberal high school history teacher, a young woman, laugh when we were talking about like the atomic bomb, or it was either the atomic bomb, use of the atomic bomb on Japan, or carpet bombing campaigns. I'm pretty sure it was the atomic bomb. And she asked, like, do you all think that was right or not? And I said no. And she started laughing. She's like, what, Angelo? You think that? And she was a very nice lady, very supportive of me. I remember her writing a nice note to me at the end of the year because she knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, still working on that. And saying, you know, I trust you'll do that. So luckily she could kind of see through my conservative sheen or sludge and see that, like, basically I was a good guy, but like, I don't know if I don't say I was a bad guy. It's like, people are malleable and they can change. But she laughed because she was so surprised. She was like, what, Angelo? You're against that? I was like, yeah, I don't think we should have done that. Maybe, again, it was the carpet bombing of like Germany and Japan. I can't remember. But it was one of those. And it really surprised people. I remember someone else said, like, who are you and what have you done with Angelo? When I said, like, yeah, I think like the carpet bombing campaigns were arguably war crimes. Or like, I remember like, sort of debating with myself in front of others, saying like, yeah, I don't know if like the pilots could be charged with war crimes or not for that, because it's like, I forget my rationale for it, but I didn't see. Here's the thing, this little opening that conservatives neglected to get me on was I didn't view that through a party ideology or a party commitment. I thought, well, you know, that's like wrong. Like, that's my understanding of it. And over the years, I saw, oh, this party, this group of people, I will never be a part of. I don't want to be a part of it. It's illusory. It's this intoxicating sense of power over others, and this in-group status, and this antagonistic stance towards people who are different from you. And I realized, oh, like, we're all kind of different from that. None of us really belong there. Even Hannity is only kidding himself. That's why he has to keep supplicating himself to Trump's agenda to keep favor in it. Otherwise, Trump will quickly turn on him too. There is no winning with people like that. So, Hannity, you are a gutless, spineless coward. Um, I wish I had that picture. It's like several computers ago now. I did like scan it and save the picture of me meeting Sean Hannity. Someone took it over my shoulder. I don't, it's gone now. But yeah, I skipped class to meet him in college, and now I'm a communist. So look at me now, and I think I'm a much better person for it. And I've learned a whole lot. So Hannity, shame on you. And anyways, everyone out there, I'm tired. Let me know what you think. Bye.